Today, I want to talk about something that I think is really important, and that's talking about giving yourself more chances to be lucky. When it comes to business, there's a lot of times you're going to feel like luck is not on your side. It never has been, and it never will be. But I want to tell you that that's not true, and it's just because you're not trying enough things. When it comes to giving yourself a chance, all that means is you're going to be trying to find an okay deal, and by accident, or maybe on purpose, you will stumble upon a great deal. But you won't really know it at the time, and the only reason you got that is because you tried more. So I'm going to give you two examples of how this happened to me in my real life. Example number one, my first big sale. So my Yeezy Butters, when I was a sneaker reseller, were very, very hard for me to sell. Yeezy Butters are just super, super expensive, basically, overpriced Yeezys. We think of Yeezys as, back then Yeezys were a lot more valuable. Now, there's a lot of controversy around those shoes, but at the time, I got them for a relatively good price. When I bought them, I thought they were a very difficult size at the time to move, so they were a size 7 in men, and they were really small. So I was having trouble finding a seller, and for about 2.5 months, I couldn't find someone willing to offer me enough money to buy them, that I could make even just my money back. So I thought at the time I got the worst deal ever, and then I definitely learned a lesson. Try to only do things with more volume. But then something interesting happened. I got a message on OfferUp at that time for the product, the Yeezy Butters, asking if they were still available. And of course, I said, yes, they're still available. And then they asked me, how much do I want? I said, what's your best offer? And then we negotiated for maybe 10, 20 minutes. And at the time, we negotiated what was a fair price in my head. So after that, we meet up at the mall, because if you're going to be doing any hand-to-hand sales, at least if you get robbed, there's a lot of security, there's a lot of cameras, so the mall is usually the safest place and the best place. And if people don't really want to meet you in the middle of the mall at the food court, try not to meet up with them. I don't think they're going to be doing things with the best intentions. So we meet up at the mall, and after he checks the sneakers and he finds out, they're real and they're good, he then asks, oh, it was 320, right? And in my head, I remember vividly we had negotiated about 250. So I was like, yeah, it was 320. And then he zells that, and I skedaddle out of there as quickly as possible. Normally in that situation, I would stay there and I would wait for a review, because I want to show that I'm a reputable seller and that I do good transactions. This time, I didn't really want to wait because I happened to get a good deal. I didn't steal. He made a mistake, and I'm not as nice to correct somebody when they make a mistake like that. And you shouldn't either. You should take everything you can. So I went out of the mall really fast, and honestly, I never got a text back from him. I never got any type of, annoying situation. Likely, if he did text me, I would have rectified it, but at the time I was really happy and I was really excited. So I was able to make a lot more money on that shoe than I had originally anticipated. It was a very hard shoe to move, and for a long time for me, I thought this was one of the worst shoes I had ever bought. But then I ended up getting a really great deal. Story number two. Story number two is going to be talking about how I found my first real estate flip. So at the time, I was working as a real estate agent. I was still maybe relatively new. And while I was an agent, I got a call from another agent asking if I'd be willing to sell an apartment for her client who's currently in New Hampshire while I'm in Florida. I said, okay, that's great. Of course, I'm taking any opportunity I can get. I didn't tell her I'm taking any opportunity I can get, but that was my mindset at the time. So when I go to the apartment that she's trying to sell, she gives me a little bit more details, and which explains exactly what I walked into. As I'm walking, I'm looking, and it is a distressed mess in there. There is kitchen cabinets ripped out. There's no master bathroom. There is no sink. Everything is missing. The AC is leaking. And honestly, it's half painted. The floors are all scratched up. It's in a state of extreme disrepair. And also there was a lot of materials and other things in there that would make kind of renovating really hard. Like I would need to get this thing cleaned out. And at the time I wasn't necessarily looking for a renovation, but I asked her, okay, how much do you think you want to sell this for? And they referred to how the caretaker of the previous owner had made an offer for about $235,000. And in my head, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's not that bad. Is it cash or finance? And she said, oh, she'd probably be doing financing. So then I had called one of my associates and I said, hey, this is a deal that I'm working on. What do you think about this price? Just to get another broker's price opinion. At the time, I thought it was fair. She's like, well, if you can buy that cash, looking at the comps, it's a really good deal. You could probably sell it for about maybe $290. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it seems like there's probably a $30,000 margin. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, so would you be willing to go half and half and buy this deal with me? And she said, absolutely, let's try it. Let's do it together. So I was really excited. And when we started going through the transaction, we noticed there was open permits, so we had to deal with the city, and there was problems with the deed. We had to get HOA approval, and they were not very cooperative. And it was honestly kind of a nightmare, and it took forever to get through the transaction. But once we were done with the transaction, everything kind of, when we reassessed and we were done with the transaction, we realized, oh man, the market had improved from the last time since we had bought it. And now we could probably sell this for maybe $350,000. So we started work on the unit, and that was another nightmare in itself. There was a lot wrong with it. There was a lot more trash than we expected. There was mold. The AC needed to be replaced. So there was obviously a lot more problems. So I thought, again, this is a nightmare, and I'm probably going to end up breaking even on this. But then the market went up again for that unit. And for the price we were looking for, after we were done with the renovations and everything, it had gone up to about $400,000 we could sell this for very comfortably if we wanted to wait. But I'm a bit impatient, and I want to sell it right away because I don't want to hold on to inventory for too long. The HOA was expensive, and it was bleeding our finances dry. So we ended up putting it on the market, and we settled at $390, and that's what we were able to sell it for. After fees, we got a considerable profit. But moral of that story, I needed to give myself another chance, even if I thought the deal was just okay at first. If you do enough okay deals, you'll be able to get more chances to get really lucky. All right, that's pretty much it. If you like what you saw, subscribe. Thanks.